Hi everyone, Rich Crescenti here with another in our series of videos making music with Melodyne, and today's topic is pitch correction for beginners. This was shot using Melodyne Essential, and today is specifically going to be for people who need a little bit of help with music theory, harmony, chords, etc. So we're going to discuss how to determine the key and the chords within a track, setting up your background, using the various editing modes, and even creating some harmonies from scratch. So let's get into it. All right, let's jump in and take a look. This is the same song as we dealt with in the previous video, Fool for Your Touch by ARA-equipped. And as we said before, you can just jump in and start moving notes to where you want them. However, maybe you're not sure where those notes should go and you need some more help. And one thing that would help would be to know the key of the song. If you come over here to the right-hand side, you'll see these two sharps right here, right? And if I hover over that, it says Show Keys. You can turn this on and off. This is the key track in the song. And here we see that Melodyne shows it as A flat major. When you loaded in this audio, Melodyne analyzed it, and it thinks that the key of this song is A flat major. However, just one vocal can be a little ambiguous in terms of determining the key. As a matter of fact, if we right-click over here, it thinks it could also be F sharp major, F sharp minor, G sharp minor. It's not really sure. So what we need is more musical information. And what I would recommend doing here is find something that has more musical information, something polyphonic, something that is not too distorted, something fairly clean. So acoustic guitar, piano, maybe strings or synths. In this perfect example right up here, I've got this piano in this song, and it plays chords the whole way through the song. So it is filled with relevant, useful musical information that Melodyne can analyze. So I'm just going to come over here and right-click on this and come down to Melodyne and choose Edit. And right out of the gate, we're going to see something is a little bit weird, right? This is a polyphonic piece of audio, but if you look at this, this is not polyphonic. And here's why. If we come up here to the algorithm, Melodyne has a whole set of algorithms you can choose. Each one is tuned for a different type of audio. But in Melodyne Essential and Assistant, you cannot edit the audio in that is polyphonic. So it will always default to universal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and choose polyphonic decay. There's also polyphonic sustain, polyphonic decay, and I'm going to say yes, redetect this. Polyphonic decay is for instruments that have a very sharp attack and release, like a piano, like an acoustic guitar. Polyphonic sustain is for more legato type notes, such as strings or synths. Now, as I mentioned before, we cannot edit polyphonic audio, but we can extrapolate key and other information from it. So when you see it here, you're going to see nothing but gray blobs. Gray blobs in Melodyne means you cannot edit these blobs. That's okay. We don't want that. We just want to get the key information from it. Now that all of this is inside Melodyne, we can come over here to our key track. We can right-click and choose Analyze Keys, and it will look at all this information and give us the key. Now it says that it is F sharp major. Now, if you right-click, you can look again. It still thinks that there is a possibility it could be some of these other keys. So if you really want to know a good way to be sure, what you want to look for is a chord that feels like home, that feels like a resolution, right? I'm going to jump right to the end of the song right here. And let's check this out. If I play just these last few bars of piano right here, let's give it a listen. Okay, that definitely feels like home. That feels like a resolve. And if we look at this chord right here, right, we see that it is F sharp. We see we got a C sharp, that's the fifth. We see we got A sharp, that's the third. This is an F sharp chord. And if you're not really sure, you can now also come up here to your chord track. If you look at this triad over here in the corner, you'll see that it says Show Chords. Now that we've got this piano in here, we can also right-click on the chord track and say Analyze Chords. And now we've got the chords listed out through the whole song as well. And here we see this chord is F sharp. So this is a great indication that we are in F sharp major. All right, now we've got the key and the chords. This will make it easier to determine what notes we should be choosing. Let's go back over here to our vocal. Let's bring this one like this. Now that we've got that information, we know where we are. Now what you want to do is set up the background in a way that makes sense for you. So if you come over here to this treble clef, we'll see that we've got a few options right here. Keyboard, key, chord, chord scale, pitch lines. these are the background settings behind the blobs. So this is less about right or wrong, and more about what kind of visual reference you like to have behind you when you're pitch correcting. Right now it is set to keyboard, right? So it looks like a piano keyboard or a MIDI piano note. We've got white lines right here. These are the white keys on the piano. These gray lines, these are the black keys on the piano. If I were to come over here and switch this to key, this is now the key of the song, right? So F sharp major. The white lines are notes that are in F sharp major. The gray lines are notes that are not in F sharp major. We've also got chord, which shows the chords throughout all the song. White notes are notes that are in the chord, gray notes are not. And then you've got chord scale. And this actually takes into account both the chords and the scale of the song. Now, another pro tip right here. For these chords to be accurate and for you to get the right information from them, especially later on with something I'll show you, you really need to make sure that the bars and beats and the tempo of the song match what is going on in your session. When Melodyne is looking at all these chords and determining them, the downbeat plays a big factor in that. So if you've got something that is free form or not to a click, or you don't have your session lining up with it, chord and chord scale might be a tough choice. If you find yourself in a situation where you really have to be determining the chord track and figuring that out, you might want to look at upgrading to Melodyne Editor or Studio that has some tools that can help you figure out the tempo of the song and get it right so that your notes and the song and the bars and the beats all match up. Okay, what I generally like to use is key. So I'm going to come over here and switch this to the key of the song, and now we see that it's F sharp major. This is all correct right here. Okay, so now that we've got that, we can again just come in and start editing and moving these notes where we want them to go. Right? And sometimes we might want to do something that is a little more experimental in terms of finding a melody. And if that is the case, if we want to do some experimentation with the melody, we're not looking for nudging, right? What I would be looking for right there would be a snap. And if you come over here again, we've got other choices for snap. Here we see that there is no snap. That's what it's set to right now. And what I already showed you, where you can just take notes and just nudge them as much or as little as they need to. But there's another choice in here that is chromatic snap. There's also key snap. We'll come back to that later on. With chromatic snap, everything you move will move up in half steps, right? So let's listen to this right here and I'll show you an example.
Sometimes I find that I'm lost in you.
Okay, now that sounds good to me. It sounds very bluesy, and here's one of the reasons why, right? A is not in the key of F sharp major, and she's saying an A right there, and it doesn't sound bad to me. It sounds very bluesy, and that might not be the vibe that you're going for right here. So this is a good time to talk about the fact that these gray lines, these white lines, these are sort of guidelines and recommendations. These are not hard and fast rules. There will be times when the right note is one that is not necessarily in the key of the song, but maybe I want to experiment and I just want to move that up exactly a chromatic step from where it is. Well, I can easily just grab these right here and just move them up just like that, right? And if I select this note, I want to show you something right here. Let's undo this. With this note selected, you'll see that it says 8 cents sharp, right? And if I move it up by a chromatic half step, it's still 8 cents sharp. That offset is maintained. So if you want to have that bang on, again, you can always just double click on it and that will move it to 0 cents right on the note right there. Okay, now maybe you're done doing some of that melodic experimentation and nudging, and you're just looking for a way easier, right? You're coming through and you're editing, you're saying, well, I'm going to turn off this snap right here. Maybe you're coming through and just nudging some notes up like this, and you're nudging this note up right here, and you're looking at all these and you think, you know, these are all pretty good, these are all pretty close, but I just kind of want to do some large scale pitch correction just to move everything a little closer to where I want it. Well, Melodyne has a tool to help out with that. It is this button right here, which is your correct pitch macro. This is a macro, meaning on a larger scale. So you can do this to a group of notes or all the notes in the song, but what it does is it moves all of them closer to the note that you want. If we open this up right here, you'll see that there is a pitch center. And what I can do is grab this, and this will affect all of the notes in the song. As you see right here, they're all moving However, you might notice, take a look at this note right here and this note right here. Those are not moving, right? Those are not moving at all. And that's because we have an option right here, include notes edited manually. I edited these two notes right here, so those are not included in this. If I come over here and check this box, now when I move this, we will start to see all of those notes move, including the ones that I have already edited. And a quick pro tip, if you take a look at this, you'll notice right here around the beginning, we just see some of the notes moving. And when you get towards the end, we start to see all the notes moving. Melodyne does this intelligently, where at first it only moves the notes that are furthest away. Now we have another option over here, which is snap to chord scale. And as I said before, you really want to make sure that your bars and beats and tempo match up here because your chords depend upon that. If we turn this on, you'll see some of these notes even move a little bit right here. But now this will guarantee that when you change this pitch center, it's not going to move to the closest note. It's going to move to notes that are in the chord and the scale. So now when I do this, we can move all of these a lot closer like that. We may not want to go all the way. Let's just nudge them in a little bit to get it better. We've got another option right here, which is drift, right? Drift is the long, slow changing of pitch over time, not the rapid changing of pitch over time. That's modulation. Now, we don't have the individual tool for drift inside Melodyne Essential, but we do have it inside the macro here, and I love using this. I feel like this is something you can get away with a lot. I want you to watch these particular notes right here, and you can kind of see how they swing up a little bit, but when I adjust this drift, they all kind of even out. And I think drift is really good for sort of improving the intentionality. Okay, great. So I'm going to hit OK right here. Let's listen to this. First things first, I'm going to bypass. Once again, we have our compare button right here. Let's hear how it sounds originally.
So stay with me and we can beat any blues. Yeah, yeah.
All right, and let's turn Melodyne back on and give it a listen.
So stay with me and we can beat any blues. Yeah, yeah.
That's great. I like that. We didn't get rid of the feeling. We just sort of nudged everything a little bit closer to the note that we want. Okay, great. Now let's say you want to do something even a little more creative, like create a harmony for yourself, right? Let's jump to this part of the song right here. I really like this phrase. Listen to this.
There's so much I wanna share with you.
Okay, now I really like that phrase, share with you, and I want to create a harmony on there, and that wasn't sung. So I'm going to copy this track and make a harmony out of this. Now, some people out there will say, just bring the singer in, sing it again, do whatever. Don't listen to any of the gatekeepers. There is no wrong way to make music. Maybe you can't do that. Maybe you don't want to. It doesn't really matter. This is all about having the tools and knowing how to use them. All right, so as I said before, I want to take just this phrase. So I'm going to take this track over here and duplicate it, right? I'll right-click over here and come to duplicate and say yes. This is going to make a track called Abby Dupe. I'm going to rename this as Harmony, Abby Harmony, just so we know which one we're dealing with right here. Right? And as I mentioned, I just want this phrase right here. So I'm going to come over here and trim away everything that is not part of that, right? I'm going to get rid of everything before that and come over here to the end and get rid of everything after that, like so. And now that I've got this here, I can kind of zoom in on it. And this is a great thing to use this Pro Tools window right here just above Melodyne, because now what I can do is come in and really trim and see where we are. Okay, now let's find out where this phrase starts.
Much I wanna share with you.
Okay, we share with you is what I'm looking for right here. And if you'll notice right here, we've got these hash marks. This is sibilant information, right? And it's putting it on the word before. This happens a lot with singers because of how they blur their words together. But I want to make sure that this S is actually on this one right here. And we can't see note separations right now. If you can't, you can always come over here and change your view. This is a great way to change what you're viewing in the background. Here we see note separations. I'm going to turn that on. And now I want this hash mark, this sibilant information, to be part of the word it should be. So I can just come over here to my note separation and just move this over like so. And now we've got the S, the sibilant information, on the right word. Now I can come in and just trim this over a little bit further, getting rid of everything I don't want, leaving behind just exactly what I do. Same thing at the end right here. I'm going to trim the end of this and just get the end of that right there. So now what we get is... Perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for right there. If we were to play this right now with the whole song, which we can, doesn't sound any different, right? Because it's not. Nothing's been changed yet. And I want to turn this into a harmony. Now, I could nudge and I could use chromatic snap, but there's another option here that might be pretty usable, I think, which is key snap, right? And now what we're dealing with is snap, but that will pay attention to the key of the song. So I'm going to select all of these notes and let's just drag them up. You just notice these are jumping around to notes that are in the key of the song. All right, we made one here. Let's give this a listen. All right, that's cool. I think I can make that a little bit better. I'm going to move this note up right here and take that note right there. Now let's hear it this way. I'm going to want this note actually to be right there. Let's hear this. That sounds nice. I like that. Now, I might normally, because this is a harmony, I'm going to move this off to the side and drop it in level a little bit. And I might even add a little more reverb to this. And now let's hear how this sounds. Great. I really like that. We just created a harmony. We showed how to edit using chromatic snap or nudging, how to use the macros. Hope you've enjoyed this today. Thanks.